It's always fascinating, isn't it, when you see these fault lines appear, especially within a political movement that often looks, well, pretty unified from the outside.
Absolutely. And when those cracks seem to come from a shared desire for, you know, truth and accountability,
Hmm.
that's particularly interesting.
Right. So today we're going to dig into a really significant development within the EVAA ecosystem.
We're looking at this notable split that seems to be emerging over how Donald Trump has handled the whole Jeffrey Epstein files controversy.
Yeah, and it's not just some minor disagreement, is it? It feels like it touches on some maybe fundamental tensions there.
Exactly. So the plan for this deep dive is really to unpack the different viewpoints. We've got a range of prominent figures within that political bloc weighing in.
And we're basing this on a source called MAGA splits over Trump's Epstein response.
Yeah.
So we're trying to understand, not just who is saying what, but maybe why these particular criticisms are popping up now.
And what it tells us about the kind of internal dynamics of the movement itself.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. Trump's general response, as far as the Epstein stuff goes, he's mostly called it a hoax, right? And publicly defended Attorney General Bondi.
That's the baseline, yeah. But the twist is that very stance seems to have kicked off this, well, surprisingly varied and pretty strong wave of criticism from inside his own base.
That's the fascinating part. And it started showing up even among, his typically strongest allies in Congress even.
Right. Our source points out that even like really deeply allied congressional Republicans, elected officials, they started pushing for full transparency on these Epstein files.
And these weren't just like polite suggestions, were they?
No, not at all. I mean, take Senator Ted Cruz from Texas. He didn't just call for transparency. He actually rolled out this unique four-point plan on his podcast, really specific, urging the release of all Epstein documents.
Oh, wow, a four-point plan. That shows some thought behind it.
Definitely. And then you have Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri. He didn't really mince words either.
No. He just flat out called the administration's claim that there was no client list. What was it? Deep state talk.
Yeah, Deep State talk.
Yeah.
Which, is language that really resonates with the base,
Yeah.
suggesting some kind of hidden establishment cover-up. And he demanded full disclosure right there on national TV.
That's a pretty direct challenge. Public stage, everything.
And Senator Rand Paul, Kentucky, he was similar, backing calls for releasing everything and specifically mentioning even potential grand jury materials.
Which are usually kept totally secret, right? So that's a significant demand. Could hold a lot.
Potentially, yes. It's a forceful push for maximum disclosure.
And even Speaker Mike Johnson, who's generally seen as a Trump ally.
Right. Even he said, quote, "I'm for transparency," and supported releasing everything, so let the public decide.
Yeah.
So you see this theme building from the top ranks.
It's consistent. Then there's Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia. Her reaction sounded pretty strong, too.
Very strong. The source says she slammed Trump's reversal on Epstein, called it far from acceptable to the crop of former promises.
Ooh, former promises. That phrasing, it suggests maybe a feeling of betrayal, like expectations weren't met.
Yeah, it definitely implies a perceived breach of trust.
So when you see these calls coming from within the political establishment, from people usually seen as solid supporters,
Yeah.
what does that signal? What's going on there?
Well, I think it signals something crucial. For a movement that's often defined itself by, challenging perceived establishment lies and cover-ups, the Epstein files aren't just another political scandal.
They're different somehow.
It seems like they're almost a litmus test, a test for authenticity, even when it comes to their own leader. It suggests that for at least some in the MAGA base, the idea of the deep state isn't purely external.
Meaning,
Meaning, in their view, it could potentially influence or compromise actions, even within their own leadership. So transparency becomes this absolute non-negotiable demand.
a demand that might even outweigh traditional party loyalty for some.
It seems that way, yes. For this segment, it appears to.
Okay, but the pressure wasn't just coming from Capitol Hill, was it? It really ramps up when you look at the influencers, the media figures, the activists within that MAGA world.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
there the accusations get, well, much more direct, sometimes even personal.
The criticism sounds pretty widespread, too.
It is. It comes from a lot of different corners, and the language is very direct. You've got Joe Rogan, for instance. Huge audience.
Right. What did he say?
He was questioning the inconsistencies directly, asking, why haven't these thousands of hours of supposed Epstein footage been released? And really challenging Trump, calling it a hoax.
So pushing back on the official narrative.
Directly. Then someone like Candace Owens. She was even more blunt.
What was her take?
called Trump's comments on the Epstein situation outright embarrassing. That's a really strong personal kind of rebuke, especially from someone who's typically been such a vocal supporter.
Embarrassing. Yeah, that cuts deep.
It does. And you had Rob Schneider speaking at a Turning Point USA event, making this very clear demand. Release all the Epstein files, no matter the consequences.
Suggesting a willingness to face whatever comes out.
Exactly. Acceptance of potentially difficult truths. Roseanne Barr also sent a message, pretty pointed. Mr. President, yes, we still care about Epstein. Basically saying, we haven't moved on, even if you want us to.
The base isn't forgetting. And then there was Elon Musk.
Yeah, that was interesting. He actually posted accusing Trump himself of being named in the files and publicly pushed the administration to release the documents.
But didn't he delete that post later?
He did, which adds another layer of intrigue, doesn't it? But the fact he put it out there at all, that's significant pressure.
Definitely. And others focused on Attorney General Bondi.
Yes, Kevin Sorbo, for example. He
Okay.
directly questioned her credibility, suggested it was either incompetence or deception regarding this whole non-existent client list she apparently once said did exist.
Right. That perceived switch seems to be a major sticking point for many.
It does. It feeds into mistrust. Laura Loomer, too, she was interesting because she made sure to stress she still supports Trump overall. But she still called for a special counsel, suggested Bondi should be fired, and warned that Trump being evasive on this could potentially consume his presidency.
That's a serious warning from someone on the inside, essentially, a loyalist saying this could cost you.
A very powerful warning.
Yeah.
And the Hodge twins, Keith and Kevin Hodge, they were also really specific about Bondi, demanding Trump remove her because of that shift on whether a list existed or not.
Again, that perceived flip-flop causing concern.
Exactly. And you can't forget Tucker Carlson, always a major voice in that space.
What was his angle?
He criticized what he called the White House's dismissive handling. Said they were treating MAGA activists like conspiracy theorists instead of actually answering what he saw as legitimate concerns.
That taps right into that feeling of being ignored or disrespected by the establishment, even their own.
Precisely. And Steve Bannon, another key figure, he was also pushing publicly for accountability. Said people want accountability, and that the whole Epstein situation just looks murky to many.
So it's not just political disagreement. It sounds like a deeper call for some kind of internal reckoning.
That seems to be the case. It goes beyond simple opposition.
Wow. I mean, the sheer number of figures, politicians, comedians, media people, and the different ways they're criticizing,
Yeah.
it really does show something deeper going on, doesn't it? It's not just a handful of voices.
No, it's quite a chorus coming from different segments of the movement. Our source sums it up nicely in a summary snapshot.
Okay, what's the snapshot?
Basically, you've got the elected officials mostly urging, all documents be released for transparency. And then you have the media and influencers often accusing Trump more directly of hypocrisy, mishandling, or deception.
So if we try to connect the dots here, the core feeling seems to be this sense of maybe betrayal, an expectation for something more than just dismissals, especially on an issue like Epstein, which is so tied up with ideas of elite corruption.
That seems to be the central theme, yes. And what's really interesting is that even though Trump tried to sort of, diffuse it, call it a hoax, defend Bondi, the base is still clearly divided.
How so?
Well, you've got some who are sticking with him, no questions asked, but then you have this other significant group demanding full disclosure, and some even calling for heads to roll, like wanting Bondi out.
So it's not just about Epstein anymore. It's pointing to bigger potential shifts.
It seems that way. It suggests a potential realignment within the MAGA movement itself, that core anti-establishment energy that brought Trump to power.
Could it be turning inward now?
It could be, forcing a look at perceived inconsistencies within their own camp. It raises questions about how loyalty works in a movement built on challenging the status quo.
And that could have longer-term effects, maybe looking ahead to, say, 2028.
Potentially. It might create an opening, perhaps, in the Republican primary cycle for candidates who can really lean into that transparency angle, especially on issues the base sees as related to establishment secrets or cover-ups.
It really highlights that fault line you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. For a movement focused on fighting perceived lies, the Epstein files become this critical test. Can our own side be trusted? Can the deep state, as they see it, even affect our own leaders? That seems to be the underlying tension.
Okay, so just to recap the main points from our deep dive today. We've really seen this unexpected but pretty significant internal pressure building on Donald Trump from within his own base, all centered around the Epstein controversy.
Yeah, and it shows this strong demand for transparency, for accountability, that for quite a few people seems to go beyond just typical political loyalty. It's a base challenging its leader on something they see as fundamental truth.
It's a powerful dynamic. So maybe the final thought to leave everyone with is this. How do moments like this shape political force? When a base starts demanding answers from its own leader on things they see as matters of truth and transparency.
Right. What does it actually mean for the future of that movement, and what does it redefine about loyalty itself when the call to release all the files comes so loudly from inside the House? It suggests, for some at least, that the search for truth or perceived truth might just trump everything else.